Hello, my friends. Today we'll start right away with the Dobropillia sector because it's been reported that the Ukrainian forces are breaking through toward the village of Zolotyi Kolodiaz, which once again indicates that the village is fully under Russian control. Fierce, small armed fighting is underway there. Zolotyi Kolodiaz. Ukrainian forces have broken into the village. Right now, intense battles are ongoing. It's also known that the water pumping station has been completely destroyed. In the Pokrovsk-Dobropillia sector, the operation continues to clear out the Russian forces that broke through. This involves the 1st National Guard Corps, partially the 7th Air Assault Corps, and mechanized units. To a lesser extent, the Marines, separate assault regiments, border guards, territorial defense units, the Security Service of Ukraine, the Defense Intelligence, and the State Special Transport Service. As you can see on our side, we've been able to deploy some of the very best. This is exactly the reinforcement I wrote about a few days ago. But in a more global sense, it will bear fruit much later. Right now, the guys have one single mission: to stabilize the situation and to neutralize or at least reduce the operational tactic threat looming over the western part of Donetsk region after the Russian 17-kilometer breakthrough. This shows that all the talk about some supposedly small group or minor Separation unit is simply not true. Who then our best units fighting right now? If no one was there, then it means the Russians really did manage to entrench themselves and amass a significant number of troops. That's why the battle is for Zolotyi Kolodiaz, and this directly shows that a very powerful breakthrough happened here, and it will no longer be possible to push the front line back by 15 kilometers, since the Russians have taken over Ukrainian fortified positions and are now holding the defense there. That's why today an evacuation has already been announced from additional settlements and even from Druzhkivka. Mandatory evacuation of families with children has been declared in Druzhkivka as well as in the villages of Andriivka, Varvarivka, Novoandriivka, and Trokhanske, all part of the Andriivka community in Donetsk region. In total, around 1,880 children live in these settlements. Thus, this breakthrough hasn't been contained, and the evacuation of further settlements where Russian forces could advance next has already begun. There is also a large number of shelling from the Russian side here, and the Russians continue assaulting Volodymyrivka, Rodinske, and Krasny Lyman. So far, there have been no new changes over the past day, but the situation here is catastrophic. In the Pokrovsk sector, and there are problems again, while all attention is drawn to the Dobropillia sector. Last night, Ukrainian forces began reporting that Russian troops had once again entered Pokrovsk and spread out in small groups through their streets. This means the Russians continue infiltrating the city, and the situation there is not improving. In addition, the Russians are breaking through in the Novoekonomichny area, assaulting the villages of Prominy, Chunishine, and Udachne, and pushing near Kotlene and Zvirove. Over the course of the day, they are carrying out more than 50 assaults, meaning activity is at its absolute peak. Ukrainian forces also continue striking Russian targets, and today there are reports of hits in Yunakieva. The Ukrainians are preparing and have already begun a mass launch of long-range unmanned aerial vehicles. There have been strikes in Yunakieva. In the Novopavlivka sector, the Russians are breaking through near the villages of Horihove and Zeleny High and assaulting Dvorichne and Alexandrograd. As for the village of Iskra, the Ukrainian side hasn't yet confirmed a Russian breakthrough there, so we are waiting for updates. However, the Russians have already published video evidence showing that they're in the village and have displayed their flags on various streets. This means there is a high probability that they have also reached the Dnipropetrovsk region here. In the Velyka Novosilka sector, the Russians are pushing near Maliivka and the village of Shevchenko, but they have achieved no new successes, and the situation hasn't changed over the past day. In the Huliaipole sector, the Russians are assaulting Malinivka, but so far they have been unable to fully capture the village, and the fighting continues. In the Zaporizhzhia sector, the Russians are assaulting the northern part of the village of Plavny, despite the fact that Ukrainian forces here also periodically carry out counterattacks. However, the Russians are bringing in reserves and trying to push forward. There is also a high number of shelling in this area, but so far the front line hasn't changed over the past day. In the Kherson direction, the Russians are pushing on the islands and their activity remains high. Every day they attempt to advance in order to break through to the right bank. But so far, Ukrainian forces have been able to repel all attacks and the situation remains unchanged. Now let's move to the Kostiantynivka sector. Here, the Russians are assaulting Stupочки, Предтечене, Щербинівка, breaking through near Yablonivka, and attacking Stepanivka. Activity is high here as well, and the Russians are gradually trying to pull the western flank toward the Rusin Yar and Poltavka areas. In recent days, they have had some significant successes here, advancing beyond these villages, and now bringing in reserves to continue moving towards Druzhkivka. Regarding Щербинівка, the Ukrainian side doesn't confirm the village has been lost, and local fighters report that our units are still holding the defense. Щербинівka is not yet fully under Russian control, as they claim and broadcast widely on Telegram channels. Our units are still present at certain positions, with fighting continuing on the eastern outskirts and in several areas inside the settlement. Yes, the situation is difficult. The Russians are trying to push our forces out, but full capture hasn't occurred. Regarding Katerinivka, the situation is very intense, with Russian FPV drones and mortars actively operating, especially along the line of our fortifications. However, the Russians haven't yet advanced into the settlement. The line is holding. In the Klebenbyk area, the Russians are actively shelling the dam area and slightly north as well with FPV drones, trying to complicate our movement and logistics. No major movements have been observed in this sector yet, but the pressure is strongly felt. Overall, the situation is extremely difficult, and the Russians continue to apply heavy pressure. How long we will be able to hold the defense here remains unknown. In the Siversk sector, the Russians are breaking through near Grigorivka and Verkhnyokamensky and attacking Pereizne. But despite high activity, the front line remains unchanged. So far, the Russians haven't managed to break through to Siversk. In the Lyman direction, the Russians are assaulting Yampolivka and Kolodiaz, breaking through near Kharkivka, and fighting is ongoing near Ritkodub. There is a possibility that the Ukrainian forces are attempting counterattacks here, but they haven't had success so far, and the front line remains unchanged. In the Borova sector, the situation has stabilized for now. The Russians are not launching new assaults, and their previous attempts were unsuccessful, so the front line here remains unchanged. In the Kupiansk sector, the Russians are trying to encircle Kupiansk and are assaulting Huliaipole. There is also a continued high volume of shelling, and the situation is gradually worsening. They have made gains near the village of Myrne, but so far there have been no changes in the past 24 hours, and the fighting continues. In the Dvorichne sector, the Russians are attempting to break through toward Druzhkivka and Petroivanivka. Fighting is ongoing near Krasne Pershe in the fields, and they are advancing toward Dvorichansk. However, the Ukrainian forces are still repelling all attacks, although Russian activity has increased. In the Kharkiv sector, the Russians are only carrying out shelling without any offensive actions, and there have been no changes in the past 24 hours. In Vovchansk, fighting continues, but the situation remains stable as before. All Russian assaults are being successfully repelled. In the Sumy sector, the Russians are attempting to break through near Oleksiivka and Yunakivka, but activity has decreased here and the Russians have made no gains. Near the village of Tetkina, attempts to turn the situation and advance into Ukrainian territory continue. However, Ukrainian forces successfully repelling all attacks and there have been no changes. Meanwhile, ahead of the talks, Trump stated that the main negotiations will take place when Zelensky meets with Putin.
We have a meeting with President Putin tomorrow. I think it's going to be a good meeting, but the more important meeting will be the second meeting that we're having. We're going to have a meeting with President Putin, President Zelensky, myself, and maybe we'll bring some of the European leaders along, maybe not. I don't know that it's going to be very important. We're going to see what happens.
This clearly indicates that despite all expectations, nothing globally significant will change today. Any major developments can be expected only after the talks between Zelensky and Putin. Today, Trump is essentially just learning Russia's position on this matter.
And if it's a bad meeting, it'll end very quickly. And if it's a good meeting, we're going to end up getting peace in the pretty near future.
At the same time, Trump continues to essentially support Russia, claiming that without him, Russia would have already taken over all of Ukraine.
I think that President Putin would like to see a deal. I think if I weren't president, he would take over all of Ukraine.
Additionally, the US Treasury Secretary commented on Europe's position.
What do you want to say to European leaders right now on that subject?
Okay, so two pieces there. One, the conversation, President Trump's going to go in and, he has a negotiating strategy. He's been putting a lot of the pieces in place over the last couple of weeks and days. So he's going to go in a very strong position. And then two, I want to say that it is time for our European counterparts to put up or shut up. They keep saying, oh, the U.S. should do this, U.S. should do that. President Trump has put secondary sanctions or secondary tariffs on India because of their consumption of Russian oil.
Friends, make sure to share your thoughts on this in the comments. And that's all from me, so please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.